Former President of Republic of South Africa, President THABO MBEKI, seemed to be not happy with the behaviors of Donald Trump towards South Africa. In his interview, President THABO MBEKI have revealed the secret which exposed Donald Trump behaviors.
The behavior of President Trump towards South Africa now is, I really can't explain it. I find it very, very difficult to understand it. Because we've worked with the Republican Party in the US, members of the party for over many decades. Over many decades, I'm talking about during the struggle for the liberation of South Africa and the anti-apartheid movement. We worked with leaders of the Republican Party. They're very much on the side of the struggle to end the apartheid system. I remember even when the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act was passed during the 1980s. Remember, President Reagan was president of America at the time, and he vetoed that law. And in terms of the US Constitution, it required that the US Congress should override the president's veto with regard to that law by special advantage, majorities in the Senate and so on. And you know, that campaign to override a Republican president, President Reagan, was led by Republican senators. So Senator Richard Lugar, Senator Nancy Kassebaum, Republican senators who overrode a Republican president. So I'm saying, Sophie, we worked with the Republican Party for over many years. Even as you say that, even when George Bush became president, worked very, very well. President Bush says to his senator, to his secretaries, U.S. Secretary of State, Defense, and all that, in my presence, he says to them, you people do not take any major decision about Africa without consulting South Africa. And even in the way that they dealt with South Africa about South African policy, it was the same. The Republican president said, with regard to South Africa policy also, we don't just impose whatever we wish. We'll discuss with them. That's why you had, for instance, a well-known lady, Jendai Fraser, became ambassador here, a very senior official Republican in the States because of that relationship. Even so, we differed with the Bush administration on Iran. We differed on their war against Iraq and engaged them. President Bush, we talked directly, him and me, and differed on these things. But there were never any imposition of sanctions because we're differing on these issues. And indeed, I must say, even when President Trump, during his first term, he sent an ambassador here, a very good ambassador, who came, even spoke to me. I was no longer in government. But she was very, very clear that in terms of the things that she had to do as a U.S. ambassador in South Africa, she had to make sure that it was in agreement even with me, whatever the issues were. So I'm saying that for decades we've had this kind of relationship with Republicans, both during the anti-apartheid struggle, as well as in government. Why there is such changeover, even with regard to President Trump? I'm saying when President Trump was president for the first term, he insisted that with regard to U.S. policy towards South Africa, his ambassador here, a lady, had to make sure that she was acting in concert with our government. Now, why all of a sudden this 180-degree turn, I can't account for it. It's not typical of the Republican Party as we've known the Republican Party for 50 years. It isn't. And to make matters worse, then to depend on an absolute fabrication, like this thing that we're persecuting the Afrikaners and this and that and the other. They don't even discuss it. I mean, I would have expected it that if they got information of that kind, they would come. We were with you in the struggle against apartheid. You promised a democratic, non-racial South Africa. Look what we are doing now. So we can then explain ourselves. No, they don't. They take a decision on the basis of a complete falsehood and impose this executive order and all of that. But I'm saying is I honestly don't understand it. I agree with the position that our government has taken, that it should directly engage the Trump administration. I think that is very correct. Maybe in that engagement we'll come to know what has changed. Mm-hmm. Because I'm saying, it actually is a radical change completely out of the blue with regard to the behavior of the Republican Party in the US towards us. It's a radical change overnight. Why? I don't understand it.
Elon Musk, perhaps?
I don't want to speculate about that. It may very well be that's that kind of influence, but I'm saying, even during his first term, President Trump, his attitude towards South Africa, as explained by the ambassador, Lana Marx, was that her instructions were, with regard to all of the major things that she must do about South Africa, she must make sure that it's in concert. Not only with the government, I'm saying with me, former president, she would come to this office and would sit and discuss all of these things. That was Trump in the first term towards South Africa. Why Trump in the second term, without explanation, never, as I understand it, they've never raised any of these issues with our government to say we're unhappy about this and that, so the thing can be discussed. No, out of the blue, all of a sudden, you undo a relationship which is many decades old. For what reason, I don't know. It's very unproductive. It's not going to produce anything positive. I do hope that our people will then indeed engage the US government and understand from them what something has gone wrong there. And maybe in that direction we can help to put it right, because clearly we as a country, I'm sure even as a government, we were not after quarreling with the US. We were not after an antagonistic relationship. Differences will always be there. Differences have been there in the past. As I'm saying that, I mean, we differed openly on major issues with the Bush Republican administration on Iran, on Iraq, other issues. But there was never ever anything from the US to say we must therefore punish you because you disagree with us. You can't run international affairs on the basis that remember the slogan, anybody who's not with us is against us. You can't take a position like that, and the world cannot be functioned on that basis.
Well, guys, that is how unhappy former President of the Republic of South Africa, President Thabo Mbeki, seemed to be against Donald Trump's behaviors towards South Africa. As you all know, for some times now, Donald Trump had signed a couple of bills concerning South Africa to cut different heads and foundings which the United States of America used to be founding to South Africa for many years before even Donald Trump come to think of him start doing politics. Remember, in this interview, former President Thabo Mbeki, he did not just express himself as an individual who's giving his opinion, but he expressed himself as one of the head of the states in South Africa who've been there leading this beautiful nation. He remembered the kind of relationship, or shall I say friendship, which the United States of America used to have with the SA, and how they used to have that mutual respect. And seeing Donald Trump coming today and start giving this cold shoulder to South Africa, it is something which seems not to be sitting okay with Thabo Mbeki, because President Thabo Mbeki is a man who knows how some of the leaders over there in America before Donald Trump, how they have behaved concerning South Africa. Regardless of what South Africa can take as positions to world politics, regardless which side South Africa have to stand against the US, but at the end of the day, that mutual respect used to be there, that friendship used to be there. Looking at it, if we have to go back a bit, remember South Africa, what they did during the time of Saddam Hussein, when he was being accused that it's kind of like fabricating a certain kind of chemical in order for him to kill his own people. We saw how Nelson Mandela stood up and was against it, and he tried by all means to convince even Americans otherwise. Regardless of the position which South Africa had took back then, that did not stop the USA to not funding South Africa. That did not stop the USA from them to stop their friendship with South Africa. We also saw a couple of main positions which South Africa had took so far, which goes against the USA. And yet, this never affect their friendship. But why is it so different today with Donald Trump? Because this Donald Trump that we are seeing right now in the White House seems to be more different to the previous Donald Trump who was in the office back then. The way he was treating South Africa and the way he's treating South Africa right now, things seem to be more different. What changed or what went wrong with Donald Trump? Well, President THABO, in his word, even expressed on how Donald Trump had used his ambassador over in South Africa during his first mandate on how to work together with South Africa and they were having a very good relationship. But today, that is not the case. Donald Trump did not only cut the fundings to South Africa, but is even threatening South Africa for him not, or the USA not to participate in this G20 summit, which the United States of America, they are co-founders of this organization. And that, in the world of politics, it is a very strong message. Proof to that, in the overall house, where medias, when they were talking with President Ramaphosa, when he recently visited the United States of America, they had to ask him that question whether Donald Trump will be attending this G20 summit in South Africa in this coming November or not. He was very clear. He said that it's very impossible for me to be attending this G20 in South Africa, or for me to be going to South Africa with all these things going on. But what is all these things? Obviously, it is this so-called accusation of him saying that South Africa, they are killing the white minority farmers over there. And because of that, for him, he finds that as a good reason to say that how can I be denouncing the genocide which is taking place in South Africa, yet at the same time, I'm here planning to go to South Africa. So President Ramaphosa had to work his magic in order to convince Donald Trump, which still not even confirming it, because according to President Ramaphosa, we heard he said that Donald Trump will be coming to South Africa. But from the US and their Secretary General and everyone, no one is confirming about this coming of Donald Trump to South Africa. That's, again, it's a very strong message in the world of politics. But story short, Donald Trump came up with all these things. And as we all know, that Donald Trump did not come up with these things of genocide of white minority in South Africa on his own. Because the truth is that Donald Trump does not know nothing about South Africa. Like it or not, Donald Trump does not know nothing about South Africa, besides him having friends in South Africa such as Johan Rupert and these golf players. Obviously, is a billionaire, and he would love to have friends who are also billionaires. So unless these are the people who've been feeding him all these lies, but on his own, I doubt Donald Trump does know something about South Africa. He does not even know, actually, maybe knows the word South Africa as a country, all because of the apartheid regime which took place before 1994. Or should I say, maybe because of people such as Nelson Mandela. But when it comes to Donald Trump with African geography, Donald Trump does not know nothing. Yes, Donald Trump does not nothing, because even a country such as Lesotho, when Donald Trump spoke about it in the Senate debate, Senate speech, obviously you could see that he was even busy bragging about it, laughing at other senators who were in that house, saying that you guys, you did not even know that there is a country called Lesotho in Africa continent. That it is Donald Trump who have to sound that way. So it is a way of telling you that Donald Trump does not know nothing about Africa, especially for South Africa that has been accusing that they are doing the white genocide in South Africa. But regardless of all this, as we just demonstrate that Donald Trump does not know nothing about South Africa, yet he's still coming and trying to talk about matters that concern South Africa.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. They're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
The U.S. president offered no proof of his claim, but threatened to cut off all funding to South Africa.
Which means there's a person, there's someone who brief him into the ears and tell him what it is good for them, what will benefit them. And here we're talking about no one else but Elon Musk. Yes, that is when things used to be in paradise. Obviously, as I said in my previous video, that Elon Musk invested in Donald Trump. He wanted to take Donald Trump to the White House so that him also will have a easy access into the White House, so that he will be able to always have something to influence or brief Donald Trump about. Now, on the other side, in South Africa, we have what we call AfriForum. It is an organization which, yeah, you know the story. I don't want to go deep on about that. But these people, obviously, they end up having their easy access to the White House, all thanks to Elon Musk. They approach Elon Musk. They approach actually Elon Musk's father. The father spoke to the son. The son met this AfriForum. They sat down. They had a conversation. They end up concluding. They say like, no, look, this is what I'm going to promise you. As soon Trump step into the White House, these matters will be solved, because I have also other plan or project for South Africa. So in order for us to bring South Africa government to the table, so that they can be obliged to accept what we are offering on the table, while we'll use these things of farmers as an excuse, which they did so far. Now, when they did all these things and they tried to do this propaganda towards South Africa, Donald Trump is a president, one of the most powerful men in the world. Before he gets to decide, before he gets to say something, he's supposed at least to be thinking twice, to ask himself questions to know whether it is something that he can buy that story or not. But unfortunately, he did not do so.